This episode of the Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you by our proud sponsors, Thrive Fantasy, Built Bar, and ExpressVPN. Now, using promo code DTSN, our listeners can get $20 bonus cash on a deposit of at least $20 on Thrive Fantasy, 10% off their Built Bar protein bar order, and 35% off their ExpressVPN annual subscription. Once again, all you have to do is use the promo code DTSN and tell them the Downtown Rams podcast sent you. Now enjoy the show.
Aaron Donald creates the fumble. Goff goes crashing into the end zone.
It is intercepted by Jalen Ramsey.
Robert Wood, touchdown. Picked off by John Johnson. Touchdown, Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air. Henderson with a good run and a first down. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Van Jefferson. Everett in stride. Wow! LA will play for the Lombardi.
Hi guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your co-host Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you after a Rams loss to Seattle. The Rams lost to the Seahawks 20-9 in a game that was played in Seattle. And in a game that was honestly just excruciating to watch. I was telling Jake before this, I literally have an ice pack taped to my head as we record this podcast because I got a literal headache watching this game. That's how frustrated I was, and I know most of us were watching this game. It's like I said, it's very frustrating. Because here's the thing, the Seahawks are a good team. Now, I don't think that they played well either. And we're going to get into this, but my quick overview about this game is neither team really played that great, except that our defenses, both the Rams and the Seahawks, played as good as they needed to. But it was really an ugly game to watch. I thought anyone could have won that game. Obviously, I think the Seahawks played better than the Rams did, but here's the reality of it. Losing to the Seahawks wouldn't be that bad if we hadn't lost to the 0-13 Jets last week. I think that the problem with this is the position that this puts us in. I mean, we're still more than likely, knock on wood, going to make the playoffs, but the problem is when you fumble the bag against teams that you should beat, like the Jets, or honestly the Dolphins, or any of the games except for the Bills loss that the Rams played in that they lost, it makes losing in games that you actually could and arguably should lose in more tough. Had we not lost last week, we would be in a better position than we are now, but we are not. It was just a nightmare. This whole entire game, and Jake, I'll let you give your thoughts on this after this little rant that I'm having, but I literally feel like I'm mumbling my words together. I promise I'm completely sober, but I'm literally brain dead. I literally feel brain dead after watching Jared Goff play and watching this Rams offense today. And it's one of those things where I think people are finally starting to say, Jake, and wonder, do we move on? Have we seen enough yet? Have we seen enough?
Well, let's not jump the gun there in regards to that. And I'm not talking about Jared Goff. I'm talking about that. We're going to have that segment a little later on. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the fact the Rams had more first downs than the Seahawks. They had more third down conversions. They had more total yards. They had 14 more plays, more passing yards, more rushing yards. Let's just talk about the fact that they had fewer sacks. Oh, but wait, they had interception thrown, and all of that came in one fewer drive than Seattle. Look, the Rams absolutely should have won this game. Seattle did not play well. It's been pretty much Seattle's mantra all year. I said it coming into the show, and I'll say it coming out. Seattle doesn't scare me. They're not as great of a team as it looks on paper at 11-4, 7-1 at home. They play ugly games. This is not the same team that started out 5-0. Their offense doesn't impress me whatsoever. They have some chunk plays here and there that makes their statistical output look a little bit better than it should. But, I mean, the Rams dominated them, if you want the God's honest truth. What it comes down to is the quarterback position. We're going to touch on that and go more deeper into it because I do, and I know I said on Twitter, for those of you who aren't on Twitter who want to know what I said, basically this is the end. Jared Goff, it's not the end of the season. The Rams can still make the playoffs, as you mentioned, Alexis, and quite honestly, I'm not really worried about them making it or not. The Rams aren't going to get much further once they make the playoffs, if they make the playoffs. Jared Goff has peaked. The 2017-18 Jared Goff will never show up again. It's not a deep threat. We need to stop. Well, he doesn't have Brandon Cooks. He can't connect on anything. He has these spells where he just will miss the easiest throw. You know, obviously look back at the first drive of the game. Wide open is Josh Reynolds, and he throws it out of bounds, just wide open. Very easy throw, 5-yard throw. Jared Goff gets into these patterns where he can start connecting on, you know, passes over the middle and start developing and getting into a rhythm. But once things start to throw, once he has a boundary or you know, a barrier in his way, that is when you see Jared Goff start to fall off. Once he doesn't have perfect protection, that's when you see Jared Goff start to fall off. Once things aren't going well, Jared Goff starts to fall off. Well, here's the problem. That would be great, except the whole point of the job of a quarterback is you have to hold your team together. You have to be the leader. At the end of the day, you're playing a position, you're, you know, basically in a job where the description is, hey, things are going to get tough. Can you handle it? Because if you can't, we'll find another dude. The Rams unfortunately didn't think this way before giving him a $35 million contract per year, while the Cowboys pretty much showed you what the Rams should have done all along. After Jared Goff lost in the Super Bowl, the Rams should have given him a contract, but not a contract like you may think, more of a franchise tag. It's a 1-year kind of go out there and prove it, and that's the difference between the Rams and the Cowboys. And unfortunately, Tony Pastors and everyone who is responsible for the Jared Goff contract is sick today, is at home or in their team bus facility, what have you, and they're questioning what have they done. Because Jared Goff getting the contract extension might be the worst move in their history. It is so bad, the contract they gave him. They did it not after he won a Super Bowl, after he lost a Super Bowl. I want to show one thing here when discussing, because obviously I'm on a podcast, so I can't use my slideshows that I use in my videos. But just imagine you have a quarterback that wins the MVP. I know Jared Goff didn't win the MVP, but you have a quarterback that wins the MVP. They go 15-1, and that quarterback loses in the Super Bowl, and he plays pretty average, below average. Even, you could argue, maybe cost his team by not diving on a certain fumble. Yes, I'm talking about Cam Newton. Now, folks, before I kind of go into this, it's important to realize Cam Newton didn't just have an MVP-like season. I mean, he was absolutely dominant, and he learned how to throw the ball as a pure passer. He was a running quarterback, so it's a little different than Jared Goff, but Cam Newton had a phenomenal season, and after that, his team went 6-8, 11-5, 6-8. He went 0-2 last year, and then this year 6-7 with the New England Patriots. Cam Newton has never been the same since the Super Bowl loss. I think sometimes we tend to put too much stock in things that don't matter and not enough in things that do. And here's something that matters: Super Bowls. We saw it. We saw it, the greatest show on turf. The Rams never recovered after losing to the Patriots. The Rams never recovered after losing to the Patriots again. They haven't. They simply haven't. This was their opportunity, and now they're 9-6, staring a potential same record as last year and same result as last year right in the face. And who's to blame for that? Oh, a lot of people, because, you know, as a team, they're 9-6. But the biggest culprit is Jared Goff. And I have been saying, I don't know who he reminds me of because it's so weird, Alexis, but it clicked in this game. It finally came together. There's no more, I don't know who Jared Goff is. There's no more, if only he gets a deep threat. There's no more, he just needs. No, he has everything. This is all Jared Goff mental state. And it's not the first time it's happened, and it won't be the last time. The Super Bowl makes or breaks you. You could argue Matt Ryan's going through the same thing. You lose in the Super Bowl, and it takes a toll on you. And quite frankly, Cam Newton has never been the same since losing the Super Bowl. So that is who I would look at if you're wondering who Jared Goff is. Can he overcome it? I mean, potentially he could figure it out. But my point, folks, is that this whole he just needs this, or maybe if we had this or that, it's done. It's over. It's all up to him. If he can't figure it out, he's not going to. It's year 5. And also another thing, I'm seeing a lot of, well, Sean McVay has really held him back. No. Sean McVay is trying to make things easy on him to not expose him. When you watch Sean McVay, those designed bootlegs, he's trying to make it easy on Jared Goff. He turned the ball over. His interception near the red zone was on a designed bootleg. What do designed bootlegs do? They cut the field in half and make it easier when you're on the run to make reads. You're moving away from pressure and you're cutting the field in half. You don't have to read the full field. And he's still struggling. So Sean McVay, and yes, he's not a perfect play caller by any means, but Sean McVay is actually making it easier on Jared Goff because he sees Jared Goff's shortcomings. And let's not forget, folks, he didn't pick Jared Goff. He kept him, but Jared Goff was already on the roster, and Sean McVay took over as the head coach. But he did not pick Jared Goff. Are they married to Jared Goff because of the contract? You could say that. But I just came out with a video on my personal YouTube channel. Look, the Eagles may have set, and I'm not saying they, totally reinvented the wheel, but them and the Packers, who, by the way, the Packers have the best quarterback I've ever seen play in Aaron Rodgers. And they went out and drafted Jordan Love in the first round. The Eagles, with Carson Wentz, same type of situation with Goff. Honestly, it's like exactly the same contract and everything. They pay Wentz. Wentz struggles. They go into this year. They draft Jalen Hurts in the second round. They have their insurance. The Rams don't have insurance. And so I think the Eagles, while they didn't reinvent the wheel, while the Packers didn't reinvent the wheel, we saw Rodgers sit behind Favre. I think this started something. And I think the Rams, you saw it today. Sean McVay was not happy. And you've seen it. He's kind of unraveled in a sense. As before he would hide like, oh yeah, we have to play better. Now he's saying Jared has to see the field better. This is year 5. He's been with the same offense his whole career, well, pretty much his whole career except for his rookie year. There's no excuse at this point. And so for me, it's insurance time. It's time to grab that quarterback in the 2021 NFL draft.
I agree. I feel like it's unfortunate because I know a lot of us, including myself, wanted Jared Goff to be it. We wanted him to be the franchise guy. There's the argument between who's better, him or Wentz, because, I feel like both him and Wentz came out really strong. I mean, Goff, I think it took him a little longer because he had to deal with kind of the end of the Jeff Fisher era. But then obviously Super Bowl year played amazing. Carson Wentz played amazing the year that his team went to the Super Bowl. I know he didn't play in the Super Bowl because he was injured, but he still had arguably an MVP season. And now they've both fallen off. And I do believe in the NFL, as with anything in life, you can peak too early and too quickly. And I think that that's what happened with Jared Goff. I mean, again, who's really to say? I do agree with you. I think we need to take someone in 2021. I mean, I'm a total simp for Zach Wilson, but it'll never happen because he's going in the first round for sure. And the Rams don't have a first round pick. So, I mean, we'll do a different pod. And as we start doing stuff about the draft, we'll talk more about who we think the Rams should look at or take in the second or third round, whatever it may be. My thing with Jared Goff, and this is something I literally said last season and I got crucified for it, but he does not make players around him better. Players around him make him better. And you cannot have that in a franchise quarterback. A franchise quarterback needs to be a guy that takes control. He goes out there. If the team's not playing well, he puts the team on his back and he makes things happen. And Jared Goff does not do that. He's done that on a couple occasions that we've seen. Not so much this season, maybe one or two, but that's just not in his personality. That's not in his DNA. That's not who he is as a player, which is fine if everything around him is working totally perfect, but that's not realistic. That's not NFL football. And it's disheartening. And I want to clear up something I said on Twitter today. I said after the game on Twitter that the Rams don't deserve to be in the playoffs. And I stand by that. The way that they're playing, they do not deserve to be in the playoffs. Again, I know our defense has been playing amazing, but football is a team sport. I don't buy into the narrative that we need to, treat the entire team basically saying our defense is good, the Rams deserve a spot, whatever. No, they don't. Your offense has to play good. Your defense has to play good. Your play calling has to be good. And if you as a team cannot get it together, then you don't deserve to go to the playoffs. Okay, you can't just send your defense to the playoffs. You have to send your whole team. And as of right now, with the way that the Rams are playing, I'm not confident with them against anybody. I mean, we lost to the Jets. Okay, this is not, and like we've said, the talent is there, but whatever it is, it's not clicking. And I do think a majority of it is the quarterback, but it's a team game. Okay, I just want to clarify that. I mean, people can be as pissed as they want to be, but the Rams don't deserve to go to the playoffs. Now, they have a chance. Okay, now if we go out against Arizona and we magically fix everything, or at least fix most things, and we play good enough when we get to the playoffs, that's great. Okay, but I just think you can't look at the way that the Rams are playing and like make excuses for them anymore, and especially not Jared Goff. If you're still making excuses for Jared Goff, then you're not watching the games. And you haven't been for years. He's bad. He's not it. I've been saying that for 2 seasons, and everyone got really pissed about it, but he has literally done nothing but regress since then. It's over. Okay, so can maybe, and you know what? If Jared Goff gets it together, I'll say this. If Jared Goff gets it together, plays amazing against the Cardinals, we go into the playoffs and he plays lights out, I'll be willing to reconsider taking a quarterback early in 2021. I still think we need to take a quarterback at some point. I was telling Jake before the podcast, there's no one I'd like in the 2nd or 3rd or really even 4th round. To me, all the talent's going to go 1st round, and then there's some developmental guys that you can take 5 through 7, which is what I think the Rams need to do. And I know that that's not what this podcast is about, but I do think that all of us collectively as Rams fans almost feel heartbroken. Like we feel like we got our hearts broken by Jared Goff. Like we thought he was the one, and we like ignored all the warning signs and all the red flags. And like we finally he's been exposed, and we're like, he's not it. I don't know.
Well, I don't think you're wrong there. One thing I want to touch on, because I feel like we're going to kind of lean more towards talking about Jared Goff. One, I'll give him credit for his toughness. I mean, he mangled his thumb, came back out there, and looked like he was throwing better. So that's first off. You can never question the guy's heart. You can never question the guy's durability, his availability. So I think those things need to be said. It's something, and it's really why he's still there. It's why they've stuck around with him, why they could arguably continue to do that. But I do want to point out how big of an injury that Daryl Henderson ankle injury was. Not only does it knock out the top 2 running backs, Malcolm Brown doesn't have that punch in his step the way Daryl Henderson and Cam Akers does. But here's the thing. Daryl Henderson was having himself a good game. And I said, coming into this game on the podcast, I said, look, I think everyone is very quick. They like the new thing. And so they put the old thing on, kind of the clearance rack and let it go. Daryl Henderson has been that clearance item that people are just kind of fine, like, okay, we don't need to see him anymore, more Cam Akers. But then when they were forced to see him in this game, they're like, all right, well, maybe he'll do something. And he was going to do something. He averaged 5.2 yards per carry, 12 carries, 62 yards. The Rams were running the ball well. You and I talked about before our podcast got deleted that, look, they're going to have to pound the rock. And that's what they did. They ran 29 times, 118 yards. So they, actually outplayed the number 3 run defense in the league. They ran pretty well against them, I would say, with all things considering. And Jared Goff didn't get I do think Daryl Henderson's injury derailed what could have been a better performance, for the Rams in total. But I do think Jared Goff had enough there from the run game where the passing game should have had more than 234 yards, in my opinion. Only 5.4 yards per pass. He had 24 of 43 passes completed, was sacked 3 times, and had 61.6 passer rating. So, I just look at that and I think, yeah, obviously things might have been a little bit different with Daryl Henderson, but you and I were saying pound the rock, and that's what they did. And, people hating on Sean McVay's play calling. I mean, I thought he had a good game plan. I just think it wasn't executed by Goff.
I agree. I think that the game plan was a lot better this game compared to what we've seen in some prior games from McVay, because obviously the play calling hasn't been what we've wanted or what a lot of people have wanted. But I just think it's frustrating because, as we've said, the talent is there with the team. When you look at individual players in the Rams, I mean, we are as talented as anybody. At least I think so. The problem is getting people to play together, and I think that it starts with the quarterback. Because as we've been saying, our defense has been playing great. They mesh well. They keep us in a lot of games, but they can only do so much. And our offense, for whatever reason, just it's not working, and I think it has to be the quarterback. I think it's obviously the quarterback. I mean, it's not like we have a running back or a receiver or tight end in there who just keeps dropping the ball or whatever. I mean, it's the quarterback. He makes bad decisions. He's not playing well. And I agree, the toughness thing, but what was that slide? Like, Jared Goff, he doesn't like to get hit. It's like, honestly, like, I'm trying not to curse here, but like, literally, it's like you need a quarterback who puts the team on his effing back, and Jared Goff doesn't do it. I mean, okay, I get it. He takes hits. His body is durable, but his mind is not. He's afraid, and I don't like it. And he doesn't have, I mean, I get that he had a bad offensive line for most of last season, but he hasn't had a bad offensive line long enough to act that scared. Like, I get it when you have these quarterbacks whose offensive lines are just absolutely terrible and they are so afraid of getting hit because they've been hit so much. He doesn't have that excuse. I think he's mentally not there. He's like mentally checked out, and it's frustrating. Like I said, I literally have like a migraine right now because I literally was like watching the game and felt like my brain cells were just like dying each and every second. Like, it's just not fun. It'd be different if we were a 4-11 team or 4-12 team, because then it's like, what are you going to do? Right. It's like NFC East fans, like they go through this, but they're like, what can we do? Like, this is what we deserve. But like, the Rams are too talented of a team to play the way that they've been playing. And if the way that you turn it around is making a change at quarterback, I'm all for it. I'll do it tomorrow. Put in Wolford. They won't do that, obviously. I don't care. I just think that something needs to happen. We're at a weird spot in the season because we're going into the playoffs. So maybe quarterback change right now is probably not wise unless it's necessary. So I think it's frustrating. I think all the Rams fans who are frustrated have every right to be frustrated. You have every right to be pissed because we aren't playing the way that we are capable of playing, and something needs to change. Probably a lot of things, but I mean, I don't know. I'm losing my mind, Jake. I'm literally like, I'm fumbling my words. Like, I'm literally just, I'm over it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, how long has this team been sitting here at, 9? What was it? They were 9-4. Now they're 9-6. I mean, it's hard to look at, and it's hard to go back and, arguably the Bills might even be the best team in the league right now, the way they're playing. And the Rams had every opportunity to beat them on the road. I mean, they came all the way back and they should have won that game. You look at the 4, turnovers Goff had in the Miami game. You look at the 49ers games, they were winnable games. And now the Rams find themselves in a predicament here. The Jets game, Now this game, they're 9-6, and they have to basically win to make the playoffs. And if they lose, they need, I would bet on Aaron Rodgers. I'm not. If what is stopping you from making the playoffs is the Bears and they're going up against Aaron Rodgers, I think you're safe to bet on Aaron Rodgers. But you get my point, though. They need help. And so I don't think any of us really thought it would come down to this. I didn't really think it'd come down to this. I mean, after the Jets game, I thought it was obviously possible. But here, you have to be sick if you're a Rams fan looking at Seattle at 11-4. I mean, this team, once again, the defense absolutely stifled their offense. And they've been outplayed and back to, both matchups. And you just have to feel like, really Seattle's just not that great, and you really just let one go. But more so, you really let the Jets game go. And, at the end of the day, when you look at this game, Jared Goff has one interception, but Jared Goff fumbled that ball. And I think if Jared Goff holds on to the ball there, that is ruled. That is definitely ruled a touchdown. I think because he fumbled, they kind of just decided to say that, he didn't cross the plane or whatever. And I still think they got the touchdown, but that's the game right there. When you really think about it, the game is so different if he plunges in and doesn't, drop the ball. So I'd argue Jared Goff had 2 turnovers and one just didn't get put on the stat sheet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. I agree. It just, it was one of those games that we have too many of as Rams fans, I feel like. Again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I feel like I'm dead. I feel like I am just numb. And I was joking with people on Twitter because everyone was like starting to drink. And I was like, no, I'm going to stay sober because I need to take this rage into the podcast. Like, I need to remember this feeling.
But I team on your back, unlike Jared.
Right. I was literally, how many times do I have to ask the Rams to put me in? I'm like, just give me a chance. Okay. Just, I don't know. I have nothing else to say. I've lost it. I've completely lost my mind.
I hear you. I feel bad for Panini, who is like our, she's our friend of the show, and she always listens to the show and super psyched about Jared Goff, and she's like Jared Goff stan. And I feel so bad saying bad things about Jared Goff just because she's so awesome. And like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, it sucks. It's like, I want to tell you it's all great. I want to tell you the Rams are, everything's going to be okay, but I got to be a realist here. And, the eye test to me and what I've seen is that, I've seen this movie before with Cam Newton. I saw, it's just when you have all those weapons and you have the coaching and you have the defense and the offensive line isn't playing its best, but let's not act like the offensive line is the reason Jared Goff has fallen off. It's been a 2-year thing now. And when Jared Goff has time, he still misses throws. So let's not act like the offensive line is the reason for that. Also, the Havenstein thing. Want to point out when Havenstein left, our guy Tremaine Ankrum got thrown right into the fire and stonewalled his man. I believe it was I don't remember. It was the other. It wasn't Dunlap. It was the other guy, Benson Meawa. So shout out to him. But yeah, this loss is going to sting. Obviously, you're right back to the drawing board. You have to win against Arizona to, make the playoffs, unless you're going to have help. But that's going to do it for us. And we're going to have plenty of quarterback draft content this offseason. I can assure you that much.
Yes, we will. It'll be an interesting time. There's a lot that could happen. But as always, guys, if you like what you hear, like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheAlexisCraft. You can follow Jake at JKBoganDTSN. And then you can follow our Instagram and Twitter at Downtown Rams. We will be back later in the week with a preview game of our matchup against the Cardinals. But until then, take care, stay safe, and go Rams.